I'm DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching NorbCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another Roundtable edition. Yes, we're going to be talking about, of course, the NFC Championship game that just happened this past weekend. Some great games. And, of course, what's going on with the Seahawks. We've got a brand new offensive coordinator finally. But who is this guy? And is it going to be a good fit? What does this mean for the Seahawks? We're about to find all that stuff out. So, and then in other news, it just seems the season may be over, but the offseason news does not stop happening. So we got a lot to talk about today on the Roundtable. So before I bring them in, I just want to do a quick shout out to my sponsor, Daniel Dovin of Dovin Real Estate. Yes, that good-looking guy right over there. If you have know anyone, or if you're looking to buy or sell a house in the Pacific Northwest, in the Seattle area specifically, give Daniel a call. He will take good care of you, and you can talk Seahawks football the whole time as well. 206-310-3362. His email's up there as well, and you can find his link in the description. And if you do that, you will be entered into a drawing to win a Cortez Kennedy rookie card. So that's pretty awesome. So give some love to Daniel Dovin Real Estate. All right, let's just try that take two. Hey, look at that. It's the Roundtable in the flesh. Hey, guys, it's good to see all of you guys here. All right, so I want to do some things a little bit differently. Usually I give you guys a chance to talk about your channels and what you're doing after the show, but I figured everybody's here at the start, so let's do it now while everyone's tuning in. So let's just start from the top and work our way around. We're obviously missing a couple of guys. We're missing Seahawks Martin, and we're missing Steezy. Steezy will be back later today, and Martin, he is probably busy with piano and doing important family stuff, so we'll catch Martin the next time. But for the ones who are here, let's start off. Coach Marsh, why don't you get it going?
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be back with the Roundtable. Missed last week, but excited to be a part of this, and having a history of coaching and being around this area. Love all things Seattle Seahawks. Have been one since day one, and Seahawks season ticket holder. Not for me personally, but since in the family since '76. So love all things Seahawks. Spent a lot of time on the gridiron, and have some fun and neat connections based on some neat relationships throughout the course of time that are definitely Seahawks related, that are fun to bring up in the show.
All right, so that is, of course, Coach Bill Marsh. Let's go to the right with DJ Squabo. Squabo, tell them about what's going on in your world.
Pleasure to be with you guys. As many of you guys know, I go by Squabo. I'm a current student at Washington State University, majoring in communications in the broadcast news sequence. And I wanted to make my first announcement that I am officially back as sports director for the student-run TV station this semester, Cable 8 at Washington State University. So I'm super excited about that. Recently had the opportunity to call the basketball game or a basketball game on the radio for one of the student-run radio stations here at Wazoo. So you can find information on how to watch my content for those other two organizations all on my YouTube channel at DJ Squabo. Speaking of my YouTube channel, I did a vlog at the basketball game without fans at Beasley Coliseum. It was a blast. Even though Wazoo lost against Utah, it was my first home game for Wazoo, so that was a lot of fun. And I'll share with you guys my experience here shortly. As well, I'm going to drop a video shortly on the Shane Waldron hiring for Seattle and what it means moving forward.
All right. DJ Squabo doing a lot of stuff, keeping busy over at Wazoo. And I know my panel of three right here have a lot of connections to Wazoo, which brings me to the guy at the bottom there, Mr. Brian Abker, looking sharp in the old school throwback Seahawks jacket.
Yeah, a little old. I don't know if everybody can see that. Damn, Squabalicious is just the king of Pullman media. I love it, man. Being a former Coug, or always a Coug myself, so I love it. I love seeing young dudes out there hustling, and he's definitely climbing the ranks. I spent 17 years covering local sports in Seattle, 15 of those with KJR Sports Radio. I covered the Seahawks, Sonics, Mariners, Sonics when we had them, the Storm, the Huskies, you name it, basketball, football, women's softball. I did play-by-play for high school football and basketball, as well as the NBA Summer League. So grew up here just like Coach Marsh, fan of the Seahawks since they first arrived here in '76, and love everything Norb does. So being a part of this round table and getting to work with these other guys has been way too much fun for me. So I honestly, I love it. This is great. Glad to be here.
All right, Brian, it's great to have you guys here as well. I want to recognize a couple of the super chats I missed earlier. So Chef Jack Attack, who's always here in every stream, our youngest chef that I know over in the East Coast in New York, says, this is fun. We got Drive Swiss says, what's up, Norb, new OC? We are going to talk about that in momentarily, of course. Everyone's been waiting for that announcement, which came yesterday. Chef Jack Attack again comes back in and says, let's go, Coach. Excited for your new channel. Yep. Coach Marsh going to be having his own thing launching as early as next week, I think, right, Coach?
Yep, it's going to be happening.
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. It's been a long time coming. So, and then Alina Dahl, one of our moderators, says, have to say, Norb, go Dogs. Too many Cougs in here, LOL. That's right. That's right. what do they think this place is?
You know that they actually, the nickname for it is the Harvard of the Northwest. So if anybody ever says that, you pretty much know where it is. Knowing that Norb is a Husky by trade.
I think that term only comes from people here in the round table. It's pretty much the only time I ever hear that actually seriously spoken. But no, it's great. That's what I love about this. And what I love here, and this includes the guys who aren't here, is just I have unique relationships with all of you that come from very different places, and yet we're all brought here together. Squabble, I've only known you for it's only been a little bit over a year, right, since we started our thing. It was just last year during the fall season when I saw you at Kentridge doing the play-by-play, and you recognized me, and you're like, "Hey, come on over here." Next thing you know, I'm appearing on your show, you're appearing on mine, and now look at how that's gone. Coach Bill Marsh, I've known you since 1995 when you were the coach of Eastside Catholic High School. We spent, over a decade doing some of the coolest high school videos around, and shared not just the love of watching you coach, but growing together as a team. Just coming up with creative video ways for our love of movies and music and putting it together for entertainment. And now we're doing it some 13 years later from the time we stopped doing it. So
yeah,
I love
very
doing
cool.
that.
The parallel passions are awesome. We're very connected.
Exactly. And then Brian, you and I, we met really, I had been listening to you before we met. And then I think thanks to Mark Collins, and I believe you invited him to be on the show to talk about Save Our Seahawks. And then I just tagged along, and that's where you and I met for the first time. And it wouldn't be the last time. I appeared on your show a couple other times out of your graciousness of letting me be on there. And then, missed when you were no longer in radio. It was disappointing, for a lot of us, but I had the pleasure of getting to have you not only host a couple of my events, but you got to be in some of our videos. You made an awesome job in that Chicago Bears Rivals video with Mark Collins, which was one of my favorite productions of all time. Probably the funniest one because the bloopers are to die for.
It was so fun. And quite honestly, Mark Collins came in, he goes, dude, you got to meet this guy, Norb. He is so talented. It's unbelievable. And I'm like, all right, let's see what this kid's got. Let's see what kind of talent. And lo and behold, Mark Collins did not have too many Bloody Marys that day. He was spot on. You had all the talent and then some that he said. So for you to let me ride your coattails on a couple of things that you were doing, a couple projects, man, I feel so blessed to even be a part of it. So once I saw you doing this roundtable, I'm like, man, I gotta at least. First of all, I was pissed off at a lot of Seahawks fans, and I had a lot to say. And second of all, I wanted to get involved in something that you were doing again. So I love to keep this relationship going.
Well, I'm glad you reached out to me.
I got to add on top of this because there's people that are jumping on maybe for the first time, or even if they know you. And we like to pat each other on the back with a lot of accolades and stuff like that as we go through this. But here's what I think separated Norb from everybody else I ever met in kind of his industry, and and I do have relationships there as such, and that's the fact that when Norb was doing our highlight videos, he would come up with ideas, as was his business partner. So I'm talking about really both of them as the same.
Yeah, and I got a shout out to Mike Lorraine, 80s Broncos fan. We were still partnered up. So he's still my partner. So we were a team then. We still are.
Best people I've ever met. But here's the thing: when they would ask us to go, do a shoot for the highlight video, create little commercials, or what have you. I mean, he would come with, Norb would come with storyboards. I mean, he would give a ton of thought, and then we go, rent a field or something, and we'd be there till like 2 or 3 in the morning, in the rain, in the free, at the end of the season. It's November, December, and just working his tail off. But it was efficient. And as a head coach out there, like, I got players coming out, parents are letting them stay out late, and it wasn't like we were wasting time. I mean, but you wanted to get the perfect shot because you want it to be such a great thing for the players. And in every project I've ever known you to do, whether it's Mama Blue, whether it's something else, you never look for the credit, right? I mean, it's kind of like you're the guy that would want your name at the bottom of the credits as they scroll. So, for people that are jumping on board, or if you can help, lift his channel and all those things, man, do it, because the guy deserves it because of how he treats people. And he's just going to continue to deliver great messages and represent our city the way we want Russell Wilson to represent our city. We want Pete Carroll to represent our city. I can't imagine a better person on YouTube representing the city of Seattle in this type of a realm than you, man. So just keep it up.
No question.
No, man, you guys are too.
And that's not just kissing your butt because you have me on there. If you told me I'm out of here, I'd say the same thing tomorrow.
All right, you're out of here,
I'd say
man.
it quietly, but no one hear it.
Thanks for the compliments, and you're out of here.
Yeah, but that's all. That's why I think you're great. So that's kind of my message, to people that are out there, man. When you do things for other people, there's a reason why I think Norb has this great stuff happening for him right now, because he's constantly thinking of others first, as is his business partner. Two of the best guys I've ever met.
He works his tail off, too.
Work their butts off, yeah.
Well, you guys are too sweet. I appreciate you guys, but it is a team effort, and it really is. And this goes to the viewers, because when you are a filmmaker or a media person, and you're doing this because you have an audience, and you're trying to put out content that your audience will like. And I'm hoping that all of you guys who are watching this, I assume you're here because you enjoy the content. You enjoy, what I bring, what Brian brings, what Squabo brings, and what Coach Marsh brings. Everybody brings to those something different. We all come from different perspectives. We all have our expertise on things, but I think that's what's cool. And we don't always agree. And that's what's fun about this. That's why it's the round table. It's like you say something, I say, well, I don't know. I think this might be something else. So, but that's what's great. And I love the fact that you guys are here, and we just coming from all these different places where we started from, and the fact that we're here together, it's awesome. And I still look forward to that day when we all sit down in a public restaurant, preferably one where we can get some beverages of some kind and sit down and have a cold one, because we just haven't had that opportunity yet. But it's going to happen hopefully sooner than later. So, well,
hey guys, what do you think we do it let's do it at the Coug.
Hey,
road trip to Pullman. Hey. Road trip to Pullman. We see Squabble.
Yes, sir.
And we meet at the Coug. Bring some Coca-Colas out to Seahawks Martin.
I'll take some Benadryl or something, some anti-allergy medicine before I go there, and I'll probably be able to hang okay. But
I'm a lifelong member of the Mug Club, yo.
That'd be awesome. So Seahawks Martin might have to get a fake ID to sneak him in, but we'll or get him a root beer or something to make that work.
I think they'd buy it. He looks 21.
He'd talk his way in there.
Exactly. Plus, these students are looking younger and younger all the time. So we'd say, hey, this guy's super smart. You wouldn't believe. Anyway, so before we start, I do have to do a little shameless self-promotion. I'm pretty excited about this, and it really does involve Brian as part of this too, because I mentioned this on Sunday during the AFC Championship halftime game. I showed a little snippet of this, but I was telling the guys before the show started that you've seen my poster on the back wall of my documentary NorbCam, A View from a 12. We premiered that movie. It was basically it's my first year that I started doing my channel as NorbCam. First time doing the music videos and everything like that from the start to the end. And so I made a documentary, sort of like a 1-hour version of the entire 2014 season from start to the Super Bowl 49 ending, and made a movie out of that. And we actually premiered that in the theater in 2015 before the start of that season. And it was great. Had super fans. We had Norm Johnson, former kicker, there. Just a packed house. And it was a awesome experience because we got to watch it with an audience, and I had Brian Apker there hosting the event, which was just made it doubly awesome. And so for the first time ever, I'm actually going to premiere that show on Friday before the Super Bowl, so a week from this Friday. First time ever on YouTube, so the only people who've seen it so far are the ones who are at that theater or who happen to get a DVD copy. So this will be first time releasing that show, and I'm excited to do it. So I put together a little teaser trailer of that show in case you're not familiar with it. Check it out.
If you're a 12, suffering from football withdrawals, then you need to watch this. One fan and a legion of 12s will rise, fight, scream, attack, defend, and dance like Michael Jackson. Wow, seriously? Who wrote this? Whatever it takes to get back to the ultimate game. NorbCam, the view from a 12.
All right, there you go.
Awesome.
So
man.
a little
So
trailer.
awesome.
So yeah, this is going to be fun. It just, again, the entire 2014 season encapsulated in one experience, as it was through my eyes as I was doing my YouTube channel for the first year. So unfortunately, we know how it ends, but it's a fun journey nonetheless. So I can't wait to show that to you guys and premiere it on YouTube for the first time ever. So, all right, let's get into it, you guys. You get ready to talk some Seahawks and some NFC, AFC Championship?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So first of all, we all were waiting for the big news of who was the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks going to be, and it took a couple of weeks of suspense there, but we finally got it. And I don't think most of us knew who it was when they announced it. In fact, I just forgot what his name was. What's his name again? And this,
Waldron.
it rhymes with cauldron. Shane Waldron. Who is this guy? We know he comes from.
Before we get into it, Norb, there's been like 3 pictures I've seen of him, and it's like people chose the goofiest, weirdest looking picture of the guy. I mean, if you look at the Seattle Times, if you look at a couple others, like, is that the best picture you could find? Like, it makes it look like we brought in some goofball. And again, you don't judge a book by its cover. You don't judge a face, and I'm the last person who can talk about a face, right? But it's just funny that they choose a picture that makes you go, "Gosh, that's the start of?" It was very funny when I first saw the picture of him.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's why I love the round table here, because you guys are all going to bring what you know about him. But I kind of got most of what everybody's probably been hearing on the mainstream, which is that we know he was the passing, what is his official title? The passing coordinator?
Passing game
coordinator.
Which is a misleading title, actually.
Yeah, well, I want you guys to make that less misleading. So that's what his term comes from the Rams. And for not knowing any better, I'm kind of excited about it, just because this whole time we've been talking about what does Seattle need and what do we against the teams that we face all the time. We struggle, defensively against the San Francisco 49er offensive scheme, the Rams offensive scheme, and we've been talking so much. Russell needs to get rid of the ball faster, and he's got to hit those. We need more short range targets, and all of a sudden we get this guy from the Rams he makes Jared Goff look like a good quarterback somehow, if he's indeed the guy who coordinates all this stuff. So I, at the onset, was like, wow, okay, I don't know anything much more than his title, but if that's where he's coming from, and he's half responsible for what that play looks like by the Rams, I'm pretty excited about it. But I want to get your guys' take and share with me what you guys know, what your thoughts on, can this guy turn the Seahawks offense, I should say turn it around, it's not like it's not there, but can he bring it back to the level that we were hoping for? And Brian, you're the one who said it was misleading, so I'll start with you. Who is this guy? Who is Shane Waldron, and what does this mean for Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, for not knowing as much about him as I probably would have back in the day, I'm as excited as I can possibly be without having full knowledge of exactly who he is, what his philosophies are and everything else. But let's think about this. Of all the names that were listed leading up to who could be the Seahawks offensive coordinator, and there was half a dozen to 10 of them, his name wasn't in the mix. So this is typical vintage Pete Carroll and John Schneider going to get somebody that nobody was talking about, but then when they go get him, you're like, holy smokes, okay. So this guy was the passing coordinator. He was McVay's right-hand man at every aspect of that offense. McVay is known for a power run game and creativity. I couldn't be happier about the prospects and the potential that he's going to bring to the Seahawks offense. And with Russell Wilson saying that he would like to be involved in some form or fashion in the hiring of the next OC, you got to imagine that there was at least a conversation at some point in time. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just assuming, but I have to imagine there was. So if Pete likes him, John likes him, Russ likes him, man, you get 2 thumbs up for me, and I can't wait to see what this guy does.
Oh, good. I was hoping that you guys were going to say I'm silly liking this guy. So I'm glad to hear that we're on the same page of the excitement level. Why do you say it's misleading then, Brian?
Well, because not only did he coordinate the passing game, but he was also involved in a lot of the run game situations. And again, he was McVay's right-hand man. And this is just information I've gotten from reading multiple articles, including one from that Adam Schefter put out, that he was McVay's right-hand man. So he was involved in every aspect of the offense, maybe not in the decision-making process, but definitely in the cultivation and knowledge of McVay's offense. And let's face it, McVay's been labeled as a, quote, genius offensively now since he's come into the league. And he's definitely outsmarted Pete on a few occasions, and his offense has definitely been creative. And we certainly saw what the power run game looks like firsthand in the first round of the playoffs. So that's why I say that passing game coordinator is a little misleading, because it kind of gives him the short end of the stick when he's doing a lot more than just that.
Well, and I think a lot of us have thought, man, if the Rams or the 49ers in both of their systems could actually get a good quarterback, boy, imagine how good those offenses could be. And now to the thought that we could be bringing that system into Seattle, woo, it's hard not to get excited. Squabble, let's get your thoughts on the new OC.
Man, I share some of your guys' optimism, and there are actually a lot of reasons why. You guys remember last week, I was kind of talking about how I want us to go after a run-first guy and a run-first mentality. And after thinking about it a little more, what I was really going after was versatility like we didn't have before. Last year, we were really good at running the football, but we didn't run it quite as much as we wanted to. And part of that reason is because we couldn't stay on the field. So what I'm starting to realize now, and the reason I went after Mike McDaniel, and I circled him as a guy that I wanted Seattle to go after, and he was the run game coordinator for San Francisco. The reason that I really like this hire is because one thing I've learned about life, and I'm a young man, I'm not married, I don't have a girlfriend, but what I do know is that one thing when I do, if I am so lucky as to get married one day, I don't want to compete with my wife. I want to complete my wife. And when we're talking about a football locker room, these guys need to not compete with each other. They need to be in a marriage. They need to help each other. Pete already has the run the football down their throat mentality. He's already butted heads with previous coaches for not running the football enough. What we needed was a guy that can understand, appreciate, and dedicate to the run game and the importance of it, while also bringing that versatility, the young mindset. He's 28 years younger than Pete Carroll, AKA when the difference between their ages is from right now to the last of the first three-peat that Michael Jordan had, where they beat the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Final. That is the difference between Pete Carroll and this offensive coordinator. So he's going to bring new ways of thinking. He's the new off of the Sean McVay tree, which I love. I wrote down things specifically, characteristics that I wanted to see, and I think we can all agree about our new offensive coordinator that we didn't necessarily see this past year from Seattle. So one of the things, offensive creativity. Well, screens, play action. And then another thing that I'm going to talk about, short passing game. These were specialties in Los Angeles, and Seattle specifically struggled to stop these things. We want to see the tight ends get involved. And Higbee had a 3-touchdown game this year, and he's not the most talented tight end in the NFL. So they definitely have games, not every game, but they've had games where those tight ends get involved and become an integral part of their offense, and especially in the run game. We need someone that understands the importance of the run game. And the Rams had the 7th most rush attempts last year with 473, whereas Seattle was 17th with 411. That being said, the 60, pretty much 60 more rush attempts for them. They only had 47 more yards. So if we take that philosophy and put it in Seattle with our rushing attack and our physical line and our running back, it's going to be even more successful. So I think it's a marriage made in heaven. And the last thing that I wanted to see from our new offensive coordinator is that we need to fix our pass protection. Seattle was the 6th most sacks allowed last year with 48. The Rams were 26th with 25. A drastic shift. Brian Abker, you brought up a great point talking about all the different things that Waldron did for McVay. That means he touches on each and everything on the field. That's pass protection. That's the run game. That's all the things that we're talking about that we needed. I think it's a match made in heaven with Pete Carroll.
I love it. I love the stat, especially that people, I think, overreact to anything that points towards a direction. Like when Pete Carroll said we need to run the ball more. and run it better. And people immediately thought, oh no, we're just going to not throw the ball at all. It's just going to be run Bellevue offense style, just run all the time and not ever throw the ball. And that's not it. It's like you said, the Rams, they've got this fast paced passing attack, and yet they ran the ball more than us. And clearly the game where we lost against them was a microcosm of that, because I brought up the fact that Chris Carson had a better yards per carry average than Cam Akers did. Yet Cam Akers had 100 more yards than he did. Why? Because they ran it twice as many times, or almost doubling the number of carries. So I love the fact that we're not just talking about a guy going from one extreme to the next. I think, like you said, it's the integration of all aspects: run, play action, and as we know, if you run the ball well, you can do play action. But play action doesn't work if you don't have the threat of the run. Anyway, I love all that stuff. It's great breakdown, good analysis there, Squabo. So, Coach Marsh, what else can you add to this discussion about our new offensive coordinator? I know a lot of people are really disappointed that it wasn't you, because I know a lot of our audience who has been watching our shows have been saying, Bill Marsh for OC, doggone it. You just didn't know the right people, or somebody, was playing favorites. But apparently they picked somebody else over you.
Coach Carroll is starting to see me in the line at the same light as the Will Ferrells and Snoop Dogg's of the world. He's hoping that if I grow my channel, that I'll start showing up as the superstar that'll get the.
There you go.
Hey, look who's here with NorbCam. So, here's the thing. Obviously, I want to try to add something that's a little, different, a little different spin, because you guys have said some fantastic stuff. So basically 2 simple things. First off, what I just said there with regards to Pete Carroll knowing guys like Will Ferrell and Snoop Dogg. When I kept hearing this context of, Coach Carroll doesn't know what's going on, he's fading out, he doesn't see that the game's evolving, that the game's changing. Come on, man. I mean, the guy just, before he showed up 10 years ago, had those guys on his sidelines because he understood what kids wanted, kids needed, and how it elevated them to rock star status. So then he gets up here, he brings in the right guys, he knows how to bring, different people in. I love the fact that they threw everybody off, right? I mean, we're talking Adam Gase and everybody's freaking out. I honestly think that was a marketing ploy to now all of a sudden you hire someone and it gets people excited, like, oh, thank goodness. I mean, geez, we were talking about Adam Gase. Like, you kind of set the bar to oh man, were they really, they weren't thinking Adam Gase, no chance. But I'm sure that somebody put that out there knowing that, hey, we're going to work the radar underneath and not let anybody know that we're about to snag somebody. So I think, Pete Carroll has it from that standpoint. The other one is there's a guy by the name of Jack Easterby. Now, forget what's going on if you've heard about what's happening in Houston, because he's connected to Houston right now. But Jack Easterby is a guy who started off as an intern for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then when he went to New England, Belichick started realizing that this guy started connecting so well with his players that he created the first ever character coach. So he had a character coach on his staff, which is kind of, as we're talking about, what is a passing game coordinator and stuff. Well, what Belichick did was he told him, anytime there's an issue, I want you to connect to that player. Well, he became so popular that he became one of the highest paid coaches on the staff that nobody knows about. And if you look up Jack Easterby, you'll see that he's now he's the vice president of operations with Houston. But here's my point. Waldron is known amongst circles as being that type of a guy, the character coach that people like. So one of the things when I was really digging deep today was how he worked with Wolford this year in a game when they had to face the Seattle Seahawks and they had to get ready to play. Who was the guy that they asked to go deal with Wolford during the time that, McVay couldn't be around? It was this guy. It was Waldron, a guy that could communicate. He obviously can communicate. He obviously is part of a great offense, been, great over the last few years. Now he'll get to do it with a phenomenal quarterback. And I've been saying all along, can we please get a hybrid of the West Coast offense? And Norb, you've been saying you want the game. How many times have you said, gosh, why can't we do things like the Rams do? You've said it many, many times. Well, now we've got it. We've got the coordinator. We've got the quarterback. I think if we keep the running back, let's build our defense. I think we can get this ship righted, on a team that was already 12-4. But I'm talking like Super Bowl righted. So I was ecstatic when I heard that he was hired, because I did know who he was, didn't know to the depth of it, but just all those characteristics. And again, I think Pete Carroll knew what he was doing the entire time. I think he had his radar on him from step one.
Yeah. So far, I think he checks all the boxes. Is there any reason we should be concerned or not expect too much? Because now, after listening to this, I'm sure people watch this are going, okay, all right, well, we should be undefeated next year because we're going to have the greatest offense in the world. I guess, how do we tailor or temper our expectations, knowing that we're getting a guy who we're going to have some raised expectations based on where he's coming from, But there's still that reality of that just because it worked here, there's no guarantee that with the talent, the quarterback, the coach, all those things, there's no guarantee it's going to just automatically replicate itself. So I guess, how would you say to somebody who's just going bonkers right now, what would be the sort of flip side to that of what to be, I guess, careful about, knowing that we've still got a lot of things to solve in the offseason for this team? Brian, I'll toss it back to you.
Bill,
you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more kind of on the positive side before you flip it. And that's, I love anytime you hire someone who has a first shot at something, right? I mean, I needed to be hired at some point as a coordinator. A lot of people thought I wasn't ready, but I do it. And then I had to have that first time as a head coach. So even though sometimes we want either a name splash or someone who's been proven, I love it when someone comes in who, especially if they have a great supporting cast, like they do it here with general manager, team that's been winning, quarterback, leadership, all of these other things. I think he's going to fit in great. So I like it when someone comes in, he's excited, he's probably communicating with his family. I mean, all those things, he's going to come to a great city. So I like that someone's coming in new, and he's going to work his tail off because he knows that he's got Russell Wilson. He knows that he's going with Pete Carroll. He knows that people want a Super Bowl here. So to me, that's just another reason to be excited, is to have a guy that we don't know him, but somebody has to get hired at some point. That's a way of life. We all need that shot. So I'm glad they give it, and let's go ahead and poach. Let's keep poaching from the division.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the other side. We take away from a team that has clearly been a thorn in our side. So that's some of the counter arguments I've heard as well. This guy's never called a play in the NFL before. He's never been the offensive coordinator. So the concerns about that. I guess what's the flip side to it, Brian? Any side of it's easy to cheer. Well, we know he's coming from. What should we? I guess buyer beware, be cautious, temper your expectations. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things that you want to keep in the back of your mind. First of all, when somebody new comes in to become your offensive coordinator, that means they're bringing some new ideas, some new plays, some new verbiage. So things don't happen overnight. It takes some time for everybody to get accustomed to each other, to get in sync. And if you're talking about not only developing the passing game in a different area, but also developing that run game, possibly working with the offensive line coach to develop a different blocking system, it's going to take a little bit of time more often than not. Doesn't happen overnight. So that's certainly one thing to keep in mind when you're bringing in somebody new. And we don't know exactly how he interacts with folks when he's trying to bring something new to the table. And he probably is going to need some time to get to know everybody on the staff and all the players. So time is a factor. Number two, I say the only other thing that I would be questioning is, okay, if he is such a hotshot, why did McVay and the Rams let him go? Why did they not lock him up with some more dollars? Because there's no salary cap for coaches. If they really wanted to keep him and thought he was potentially their future OC, they could have probably done that. So why didn't they? Those are my only two possibilities for tempering expectations.
Squabo, you want to react to that, or do you have any points to add to what Brian just said?
Honestly, with Shane Waldron, I agree that there might be, I expect there to be a bit of we need to give him a grace period at the beginning of his career in Seattle. There's still, we're still in a pandemic. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like for training camp, OTAs, and all those other offseason things. We're going to have to incorporate a new offense. So we're going to, I don't know yet if we're going to try and keep the same verbiage or if we're going to get new verbiage, but that's a whole new thing. It's going to be a whole new system, potentially. We don't know exactly what changes we're going to see. Hopefully there are some drastic changes in terms of the short passing game, at least, because that's where we were inept last season. So we definitely want to see some changes. And like you said, Brian, changes don't happen overnight. So I agree with you there that might need to slow down our expectations just a little bit, at least early on in the season. But I think of this signing, Shane Waldron could be the potential inverse of a Robert Saleh. starts as the defensive quality control coach in Seattle and starts building his way up the ranks, get hired as the defensive coordinator for San Francisco, takes that unit to the next level, and now gets a head coaching job. This could be Shane Waldron's last step before a head coaching job in the NFL, following the McVay tree and following in the footsteps of a lot of other gentlemen that have found themselves as head coaches in the NFL now. So I think this has extremely good potential. I think we should be patient at first, but I do think it works out extremely well in Seattle.
Brian, you brought up a good point. Is if somebody really, an organization really cherishes a coach or coordinator, wouldn't they just keep them there and not want them to move on? But I think that's the thing, though, is even Coach Carroll talked about when they had guys promoted and moving on to other jobs or becoming like a general manager. One of the Seahawks brass level guys, I know he went to go become a general manager somewhere. I forgot where and who it was. But it seems like, though, they are actually excited, even though they're losing a player, just like Saleh leaving the 49ers. The players are all rooting for him to get a head coaching job. So even though I guess they are leaving and losing a quality coach, they all seem to support the idea of wanting them to be able to get promoted and moved up there. So I guess I'm trying not to think of that as, well, would they have kept him, as opposed to, well, this is hopefully a step up, because anytime you go from one level coordinator, then it's just the next level up would be a head coaching job somewhere. So he's one step closer to that, right?
That's true. But if you look at Pete Carroll's history, and we're just talking about Pete, not about McVay and the Rams, because I don't know what their philosophies are, but Pete is very loyal, and guys that are talented and are good on his staff, he keeps with him as long as he can. Look at Chris Richard, look at Ken Norton. Both those guys were with him all the way back to USC, and he recognized the talent those guys had. He brought them with him to the Seahawks and kept them there for a long time. Then he had to make that decision. Who's going to be my offensive or my defensive coordinator? Turned out to be Chris Richard. Ken Norton felt a little hurt by that and went his own way. So what we've seen and experienced is, if the coach is really good and has potential, yes, the head coach wants to see their career flourish and they're going to support them. But if they can keep them on their staff and do that at the same time, they will do that.
Coach Marsh, anything to add to the cautionary tale of this OC?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of cautionary tales for me on this. I mean, of course, there's always risk, right? I mean, new guy comes in, you don't know how he's going to find the rhythm or the zone of calling plays, and that's what, I think that's what separates coaches that are kind of lifelong coordinators who try to become a head coach and they just kind of blow it and they go back because they just don't, they can't figure out how to be a head coach. And then guys who go from position coaches or passing in coordinators to coordinators and can't find that rhythm in that zone that you have to be a coach and a play caller to feel and find. We're going to know pretty early on. But again, I think the continuity and the fact that he is part of a tree that goes back, the lineage goes all the way back to Bill Walsh, basically from there through to, the Shanahans and Holmgrens and down to here. I mean, again, I've been just begging for us since Russell arrived to really run a true hybrid of the West Coast offense. And now, unless he does something that's just drastically different, says, well, I'm just going to do my own thing, be my own personality, which I don't think he's going to do. That's what it is. I wanted them to run a Aaron Rodgers type of offense, and teams have gone to the Super Bowl the last few years, right? In our own division, other than Arizona, they're running the West Coast offense, hybrid. So again, I just don't see too many downsides to this right off the shoot. Maybe it's just kind of the eternal optimist right now. So I'm excited for what I think he's going to bring to what we have.
All right. Well, I think at this point, it's going to take several months before we really get a sense as to how it is. And like you said, we can't expect him in the 2 games into the season to expect him to suddenly just be breaking every record. It's going to have to be a process. And like you said, Squabo, who knows what kind of offseason we're going to have this year. We've got optimism to feel that the COVID-19 situation will get improved. We got the vaccine out there, but this stuff still doesn't happen overnight. So everything's going to have to be tempered with some patience. So, but I think unanimously, us and all Seahawks fans out there got to be pretty excited about this guy being our offensive coordinator. Just glad the search is over. We can move on to now free agency will be the next thing to discuss. So this is a good translation. If you guys are ready to transition.
Real quick, I do think the biggest concern is less him and more Pete. Like, will Pete be able to step back with a first-year coordinator and let him coach? That to me will be the number one thing. Again, it's not so much to him as it is to Coach Carroll. Like, is he going to be able to just let him do his thing and, Carroll be the head coach and manage and focus on defense and do those things?
You're talking about how short of a leash that he holds on him, you're saying, as opposed to letting him just run this part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, a great example is Kansas City, right? Like, I mean, Eric Bieniemy is, he is the quote unquote offensive coordinator, but we know who's really calling the plays for the most part. And then at times, Bieniemy's calling the plays, right? So there's a shared thing, but both guys are offensive minded, and Andy Reid's an offensive minded guy, and so it's that mesh makes sense. Here, you've got a defensive minded head coach, so anybody who comes in. Head coach and everything. I always felt like, offense was my side of the ball, and I dabbled. And in my early years, I dabbled too much on the defense until, a defensive coordinator and myself had a conversation. It was a great conversation because he said, "Hey, look, you got to trust me." And I realized I wasn't trusting him. And once I did, then we started to skyrocket. But I was getting in his way because I just felt like, well, I'm the head coach. I should have say on fourth down. No, he knew what he was doing. I needed to let him do that. So I hope Coach Carroll, let him go. Let Russ do his thing. Let them go. Let him teach Russ how to run a 2-minute offense and how to check the plays and how to do that type of stuff. We'll find out if he's a good teacher.
All right. Yeah, good teacher, or can't teach an old dog new tricks. Or at least the old dog was willing to bring in a young dog to come up with some new ideas. So we're excited about the potential for sure. So let's transition to a not as happy subject as far as the Seahawks are concerned. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think we need to at least address it a little bit. But there was the unfortunate news about Chad Wheeler, offensive lineman for the Seahawks, being involved in a domestic violence incident a few days ago. And it's always sad when you see these things happen. But we have to at least address it. And Brian, I know you got a little more details, up-to-date details as to what's going on with that situation. So Brian, why don't you kind of start off by just kind of laying out, for those who haven't been following the story, the situation with Chad Wheeler, and then we can talk a little bit about our thoughts on it. Brian, why don't you get started?
Sure, yeah, and it's not, like you said, it's not a topic that, we really want to address, but it's something that's necessary because it's all part of sports and what goes on behind the scenes. And domestic violence is the reason Chad Wheeler is no longer with the Seahawks. He has been waived, and it took a couple days for the Seahawks to do their due diligence, but they did, and they made the right decision. And I think it just shows again that the Seahawks are really not only looking for strong players on the field, but they're looking for strong character players off the field. Pete Carroll has brought that mantra to Seattle, and yes, he's taken chances on players and college young guys who have made mistakes and had transgressions, and give them second opportunities because he believed they were truly good people and would be able to prove that when they were on the Seahawks. But Chad Wheeler is one who's had kind of a history of things along this line. He had some incidences at USC, and the Seahawks have released a statement. I'm just going to go ahead and read this statement by the Seahawks, and I'll read it in full so that nothing is missed. The Seahawks are saddened by the details emerging against Chad Wheeler and strongly condemned this act of domestic violence. Our thoughts and support are with the victim. Chad is a free agent, no longer with the team. If you are experiencing domestic violence, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or go to thehotline.org. All calls are toll free. We encourage Chad to get the help he needs. So the Seahawks are, they're heavily involved in the community. The NFL is heavily involved in making sure that domestic violence isn't a part of the culture in a sport that demands violence on the field, where some young men haven't been able to control their emotions off the field. So it's not a great day for Chad. It's not a great day for the victims, most certainly. But if you're a Seahawks fan, you can be at least take some solace in that your leadership and the Seahawks are doing the right thing. And Chad Wheeler, not that this has any bearing on the actual act of domestic violence, but he wasn't a big factor in the Seahawks' future going forward.
And Steezy is back on the roundtable. Glad to have you back, Steezy.
How's everyone doing? Sorry I'm super late, but
no problem. We knew you were going to be late, so we reserved a chair at the table. You're always welcome to pop in when you can.
That slate of jerseys back there, man. You got that was my guy when I was playing, noontime hoops back at the Harvard of the Northwest over there. So yeah, good stuff. Good to see you, Stevie.
Stacey comes straight from the GQ shoot too, man. Look at this.
Yeah, he does, man. He comes on. We all got to back up.
That's right. So, Stacey,
thank you, everybody.
Since you're just joining us, I want to make sure you have a chance. We kind of did a little intros at the beginning. So, for those who are new here or haven't kind of really know all the details about us, why don't you pop in real quick and just tell everybody about who you are and what your channel and social media is all about.
Yes, sir. So my name is Calvin Domingo, a.k.a. Steezy A. Smith. I'm just an aspiring sports analyst, and, I'm just thankful and super grateful, super blessed each and every single week to have this opportunity and to have this platform to talk Seahawks and to talk sports with y'all. If you guys want to find me, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can find me at Steezy A. Smith, SteezyASmith. I do a lot of Seahawks stuff. I do a lot of NBA, a lot of NFL. And I've been trying to expand and get into soccer and baseball. And, I even have a baseball guy, and I'm trying to get into boxing and MMA and all that. So if you're just overall a fan of sports, definitely subscribe, definitely follow me on all socials. But first, definitely subscribe and follow everyone else on this panel before you show me any love. So that's Steezy A. Smith for y'all.
All right, Steezy. Glad to have you back, man. So I know that we definitely wanted to jump into the topic, get back into football and review the NFC and AFC Championship games. Did anybody have any additional thoughts? I think Brian spoke very eloquently about the issue there, but if you guys are more free to add to it if you want. Any you guys want to add to the topic at all?
I think, one thing I know about our organization, which I love, is that even when we let guys go for situations like this, and again, this is firsthand knowledge, so I'm not just making this stuff up, we still look out for guys when they leave. So I know while the situation's awful, and not going to express opinions about him personally but in terms of the totality of these type of issues, I do like that as an organization, as a business entity, as a company that represents our city, that when people go through a tough situation like this, they usually, I've known the Seahawks to follow up even when a guy's been cut to make sure that he's doing okay. Hey, or, what do you need? Can we continue to help you? What, to a point, if a guy's not willing to help himself, then you have to kind of cut ties and help, make sure your own guys are taken care of. But yeah, just a sad situation because you hate when these things happen because you do feel like it represents you, right? It represents us. And I think we take every city takes so much pride in their teams that you just hate when there's, it's one thing if your defensive coordinator does an all out blitz and they throw a deep bomb and game over and guys getting fired. Another thing when something like this happens and you're not really the butt of the joke or the laughing stock. You're like, man, did you hear about what happened out in Seattle? You don't like that type of stuff to happen.
All right. So let's talk about the championship weekend, you guys. Are you ready for that? All right, let's do it. So we had a couple of great games. Obviously, the early game was the NFC Championship game between the Buccaneers and the Packers, a good one that came down to the wire, 31-26. I know there's going to be a lot of things we want to talk about there just because it was such a back and forth, close game that came down to some very questionable calls. Then there was the Chiefs and the Bills, 38-24. Not quite as close. It was rooting for the Bills, but I think the NFC side definitely, of course, that was Seahawks in the NFC. We take a particular interest in that game. But let's start there with the NFC Championship game. I don't know how you guys want to do this, but I guess let's just start right with the good stuff, man. Why did the Packers lose that game? I've heard it so many different ways. Who's at fault? I've heard people blame Aaron Rodgers. It's LaFleur's fault. It was the defense who blew their opportunities earlier in the game. Maybe they're all correct, but I want to hear your guys' take in that first game. Why did the Buccaneers move forward, and why are the Packers sitting on the couch and not in the Super Bowl? Let's start. Steezy, you're new here tonight, just getting in here. Let's get you warmed up by just throwing you right in the fire. You get it started, man. Talk about the NFC Championship game. Why did the Packers lose that game, and who's to blame? Go.
Well, like you said, there's a whole lot of blame to go around, but I got to go with Aaron Rodgers. Just because every single time when quarterbacks, when they win an award or when they win the Super Bowl or when they win this game and when they win that game, when they win this playoff game, they get all the credit. And so I know Kevin King was Trey Flowers bad in that game. I know Matt LaFleur had that head-scratching field goal call at the end. But Aaron Rodgers, your defense gave you 3 interceptions. And on 2 of those interceptions, you had 2 straight 3-and-outs. And on that third on that 3rd and goal that preceded the field goal, he could have scrambled maybe to the 1 or 2 yard line. I mean, there was a little opening. So I got to go Aaron Rodgers here. I mean, yeah, he threw for over 300 yards. Yeah, he had a pass rating of over 101. Yeah, he had multiple touchdowns. Yeah, he had Green Bay almost come back after trailing 28-10 in the 3rd quarter. But he gets all this praise when they're doing well. He gets all this recognition when they're doing well. He gets so much of the credit when they're doing well. And so when they fail, just as they did in the NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers, I'm going to throw most of the blame on him just because he's the quarterback, just because he's the face of the franchise, just because he has the keys to the city. He has the keys to the franchise. And so when they lose, especially in a game with this much magnitude, I'm going to look at Aaron Rodgers.
Squabo, let's go to you, man. You agree with your partner Steez there, or do you have a different take on this? Is it Aaron Rodgers' fault? You're doing too many State Farm commercials. Wasn't focused on the game. What was the cause of it, man? Squabo, what's your take?
Man, I happily agree with Steezy on this one. I love putting blame on Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, Steezy pretty much said what I wanted to say. And the first and foremost, the fact that you had so many opportunities after turnovers in the second half to make something happen. Green Bay won the total amount of yards, or had more yards in this game than Tampa Bay. They won the turnover battle and they won time of possession. How did they lose the game? By being less efficient when they had the ball than Tampa Bay in terms of converting and scoring points to end drives. Green Bay did not take advantage of the turnovers when they mattered the most by Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't phenomenal in this game. He was pretty good at a lot of different stages, but he wasn't killer. He had all those turnovers in the second half, and while they weren't all just his fault, you cannot have 3 turnovers in the second half of a championship game and beat Aaron Rodgers unless you're Seattle at home in 2014. So I think this was a game that Aaron Rodgers really looks bad for. And just like the earlier game against Tampa Bay in the season when he did the McCringleberry dance after going up 10-0 before losing 38-10, Aaron Rodgers looks cocky and looks like he's throwing other people under the bus. Yes, I didn't agree with the call late by Matt LaFleur, even though they had 4 timeouts, because Tom Brady just needed 1 first down to end the game. But I do put the majority of the blame on Rodgers. And I do think specifically on that 3rd down play, when he had an opportunity to run, not only could he have made it a much more reasonable, manageable 4th down that they would have been far more likely to go for. But I believe if Rodgers gives a kind of effort that we saw Russell Wilson giving last year at Lambeau, he can punch it into the end zone. It'll be a physical hit. He's taking a shot regardless. But if he really goes for it and extends and puts his body on the line like so many other quarterbacks and football players have, not only in the NFL but on that team, they win that game, and that's the difference. So I think Rodgers should have gone for it, and he quit on them there instead of rushing for it and putting his body on the line. And then the head coach took the football out of his hands because he was indecisive.
Oh, all right. No, that's the take. So, Seahawks Martin in the house. Martin, it's good to see you. Nice new haircut.
There he is.
Got the fade on the side. Looking good. Who cut your hair, man?
My aunt.
Your aunt, is she a hair cutter or just does your family haircuts?
I guess so.
All right. Well,
Okay,
nice.
Martin.
All right.
Yeah.
You're looking better than me because the person who did my haircut, you're looking at him. This was a solo job in the mirror, man. So whatever you see here is hacked up right there by myself. So at least it looks good from. Don't look at the back. It looks good from this angle. Anyway, Martin, it's good to have you back on here, man. So the roundtable is complete. It just took a while, but we are complete, Martin. So I want to give you the opportunity to let everybody know, for those of you who are just tuning in and don't know Martin, a quick little elevator pitch as to who you are and what you do and why they should watch you.
I'm this little kid who talks a lot of football. You can see I plug in a lot of my stuff right here. So, yeah. I just post Seahawks videos every once in a while. I just post whenever I want to. I don't have really a schedule because, I had to kind of flex it in with school also, which is good because it's literally the end of the semester. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, I just like to talk sports. I like giving my insight on football. And I just love doing what I do. So it's just fun. And I love having a blast, especially with these guys right here.
All right. Awesome. Glad you could be here, man. So we are just, I know you just jumped in the middle of it. So we're breaking down right now the NFC Championship game. And we had Steezy give us a take. Steezy and Squabble both think the blame goes to Aaron Rodgers. So let's go to the old school guys. The middle-aged, or I should say middle-aged, the guys who are in the middle of the age group says Martin is 12. And me and the other guys right here bring the scale up. And Squabble and Steezy are somewhere in the middle. So let's go to Coach Mars. Let's go to you, man. Who do you blame? Now, I gotta preface this by saying, Coach, you did a fantastic job breaking this game down with several key plays from this. If you want to watch that, check out our latest Coach's Corner from Tuesday, where he breaks down some very detailed plays that happened in that NFC Championship game. But give me your overall view, Coach Marsh. Who's to blame for the loss by the Packers?
That's first, yesterday was one of the most enjoyable episodes I think we've ever done, just because of the magnitude of the game and what it took place. And the hard thing for me right now is that I so badly want to say, great job Tampa Bay for winning the game. Like, great job of doing different things, changing schemes, doing that other stuff. To me, it was more about Tampa Bay beating Green Bay with, running a cover 2 man where 2 safeties are deep and they're running man underneath, which is my favorite defense that, teams don't run as much anymore. But I love when they do that. And they hadn't done that before with them. So I think Tampa Bay did some things that caused some problems. Now, if you tell me I have to choose one person to put the blame on, I'm not putting the blame on the guy who was 33 of 48 for 314 yards with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, shoot, the other guy, the guy that they claim is the GOAT on the other side, he was trying to give away the game. So you get down to the end, and all of a sudden now it becomes a decision of, who's responsible for communication. It starts with the head coach. The head coach is responsible, and I can say that as a head coach. I've blown games because of lack of communication. Look back and go, oh man, how did I not get that communicated? But when you're talking about a veteran and those type of situations where it's like, hey, I got to give Aaron Rodgers the ball and let him play. And I got to let him know on first down, hey, this is 4 down territory. Because we can all say everything we want about the 3rd down, he should have run and everything else. Those 3 plays are handled differently if Rodgers knows that he has 4 downs. I mean, that's just a fact. It's a fact. So, I think I give Aaron Rodgers a ton of credit for not saying a bunch of stuff after the game, when I'm sure he wants to rip his head coach a new one because of the bookend seasons that he just had with a quarterback drafted long ago to replace him. He has an MVP season, and then you end the season just like that for him, instead of saying, hey, we're going to put the ball in your hands. And the last thing I'll say on this, and this to me is the exclamation point on why it's on the coach. And I'm a LaFleur fan. I think he does a good job. You know that the guy on the other side does not need to go all the way for a touchdown. He doesn't need to drive his team down to try to get a field goal. He needs to get 1 first down. And he's considered the greatest quarterback, not position best quarterback, but just he's an organization. I keep saying it. Tom Brady is an organization. So the fact that you think that the officials aren't going to throw a flag if something's tight, they're going to miss a holding call, they're going to do other things because of that. Of course they are. So I'm not going to give my team a chance to have Tom Brady come out there and get a first down. I'm going to take my MVP and say, go win it for us. And if you don't, we can live with that. We can live with that. But man, so absolutely, it's not even a question in my mind who gets the blame if you're blaming one person.
Brian Abker.
Yeah, and I'm going to be your transition guy here, Norb, because I'm not going to talk about blame so much. I completely get what Coach is saying, and he's probably right. But if I were to have to pick between LaFleur and Rodgers, I'm going to just give the slight nod and slight blame to Rodgers because of the one play that he did not rush and try to score that touchdown, and here's why. There was a clip before the game of him talking to his teammates saying, I need all you got. I'm going to lay it all on the line for you. And he didn't do that. He didn't lay it all on the line for his team. And that was the prime opportunity to do it, and that could have shifted the game. But here's what I want to talk about. Think about this. These 2 teams, the Packers and the Buccaneers, were 2 of the top 5 storylines heading into this NFL season. The Green Bay Packers draft a backup quarterback in Jordan Love instead of going to get a weapon or a defensive player for Aaron Rodgers, who was 1 game away from the Super Bowl last year, and he was pissed. He was mad. It was going to be doom and gloom. Was this going to be it for Rodgers in Green Bay? And then what does he do? He comes out and has an MVP season and almost changes the whole scenario of like, hey, I guess drafting Jordan Love wasn't a big deal. We didn't need another player. We're going to be able to go to the NFC Championship game and probably go to the Super Bowl. That was a huge storyline. On the other side, you had Tom Brady, who decided to leave New England after 20 years because he felt the respect he deserved. So what was the main conversation? Who was more to be heralded for the Patriots' success? Was it Bill Belichick or was it Tom Brady? And now Tom Brady goes to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, has to learn a new offense, has to get accustomed to a whole new division, whole new players, a whole new set of film study. He's got these off-season workouts and practices during COVID. They had to win the last 4 regular season games and then 3 games on the road to get to the Super Bowl, and the GOAT did it. He actually did it. He got his new team to the Super Bowl. So does that answer the question, who was more responsible for the Patriots' success, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? I don't know, but it sure adds to the case that you could say it was Tom Brady. And I thought that those two storylines coming together in that NFC Championship game were fabulous.
Yeah, I'll ask this after. We got to get Martin's take on this. Martin, how about you, man? Where do you take it? So far, I see. So where are we at? We're 3 guys saying it's Rodgers, and 1 Coach Mars saying it was on the coach. Right? That's what we got so far?
Have a person that actually is to blame. My guess was that we were talking about these 2. So after Seahawks Martin, I'll tell you who I think is actually to blame.
Oh, so you're basically saying it's neither of the 2. You have a C option.
I have a third party person that I think is
all right. And I might have seen that in the chat. But let's get Martin. Let's get your take on who do you fault the most for the Packers' loss, or is it more credit to the Bucks? But what's your take on the whole thing?
I'm actually going to go with the majority here, and I'm going to stick it to Rodgers. You've seen him. You've seen him give his own opinions to the coaches so many times. In fact, one of his opinions literally drove his coach Mike McCarthy out of Green Bay. So he has a lot of respect in that locker room. I feel like the coaches would listen to him, but he decided, we'll just kick the field goal, let our defense, who already gave up 31 points, let it all out. And when you're going up against a guy like Tom Brady, who is really clutch, I don't think your defense can finish it. I feel like he could have, first off, scrambled on 3rd down, make it a 4th and very manageable. They try to squeeze it in to Devontae Adams, which reminds me of that Week 10 game against the Rams where Russell could have scrambled. He threw a pick in the end zone. Reminded me of that. I feel like Rodgers, he could have put it into his own hands, do his own thing, and maybe could have led the Packers to a dub. I was rooting for the Bucs anyway, but it doesn't matter.
All right. So actually, I want to ask that of you guys. So who were y'all rooting for in that game? Not know who you expected to, but who did you personally want to have win? I know we talked about it last week, but not all of us were all here. So who of you guys wanted the Packers to win that game?
Oh, yeah.
No?
Absolutely. Heck yeah, I want the Packers.
So Coach Marsh, you wanted the Packers to win. How about you, Brian?
I went into it not really having a horse in the race. I thought if Brady could make history, that'd be cool. But I'm one where if I don't have a vested interest, I'm rooting for whoever's behind late in the game. So I ended up finding myself, rooting for the Packers.
Squabo, you were rooting for the Tampa Bay?
I despise Green Bay. I despise Aaron Rodgers' confidence. I despise everything about this team. I was 100% rooting for Tampa.
So you were thrilled about it. How about Steezy? How about you?
Yeah, Tampa Bay all the way. Just because before the season, I told myself, and I told a few people that if Seattle, in the unlikely event that they weren't going to the Super Bowl, I'd be rooting for Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I wanted to stick by that. And so even before this round, against the Saints, I was rooting for the Buccaneers. And as soon as Seattle got bounced, I was like, all right, I'm hopping on the Tampa Bay bandwagon. So it's been Tampa Bay for me ever since Seattle.
I was originally rooting. Again, I wasn't rooting for either team, but I was between the two. I thought, well, I didn't want to see Tom Brady up there again. But then I started thinking, man, is that good to see? Like you said, it's hard to root for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay just because they've been a pain in our butts for so long. Aaron Rodgers, him and his ego and all that stuff, to see him then elevate one level above Russell when those two guys are always constantly seem to be in the battle for MVP. So I think you guys actually talked me in. I think maybe it was Squabo. Squabo actually convinced me to flip because I was going to root for the Packers because of anti-Brady. But then I thought the best scenario would be Packers lose so they can be in the misery that they are in right now, which is perfect. And then it's going to be Brady and all the hoopla, being the home field and all that stuff, going to the Super Bowl. Now, the best thing that could happen now is that Tom Brady throws an interception at the 1-yard line, breaks his heart, breaks Tampa Bay's hearts, and then we just give it to KC because they won last year. Who cares? So then it would have been that's a perfect situation. And I have to mention, there was this graphic that was brought up. I can't remember which game it was brought up at, but they're talking about which teams have repeated, and there's been one every decade, right? In the 80s, I guess it was San Francisco. 90s, it was Dallas. In the 2000s, it was the Patriots. And the only decade that didn't have a repeat was in the 2010s. And guess what? We were supposed to be that team with one freaking yard. We would have set the pattern correct. It would have been one team every year that should have been ours, 2013, 2014, and that's why Tampa Bay and all that stuff, he's got to have his heart ripped out because this cannot have that because they denied us that position, that spot in that ladder was destiny. It was meant to freaking be. And you will see my heart break when you watch the premiere of my documentary about the 2014 season next Friday and relive that pain all over again. But I'm past enough, as you can tell. I'm over it. No, I'm not.
No. I actually like, and this is going to be surprising, I guess. I want to hear what the panel thinks about this. I disagree. I want to see Tampa Bay win. I want to see Tampa Bay knock off Kansas City. Not only the storyline that what if 43-year-old Tom Brady beats the next guy that everyone's saying is going to be the GOAT in Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl after getting letters from AARP and playing quarterback from a wheelchair in the pocket. That's what Tom Brady's practically doing right now. And I feel like, first of all, that's more of the upset. They're already the underdogs. Second of all, you talked about it. Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City have an opportunity here to join a new conversation of teams. Not only the 2 Super Bowl winners, which surpasses Seattle, but also winning back-to-back Super Bowls, which hurts Seattle because we should have done that last decade. So we went through the pain. I want them to feel the same pain that we felt and for them to realize that it's not this easy to just win the Super Bowl every single year. And how about who better to show him than Tom Brady in this scenario? Let Tom Brady end on top. Let him have one more Super Bowl. Who cares? He's already the GOAT. He's already in his own conversation. He's already felt plenty of Super Bowl pain as well. You know who hasn't felt Super Bowl pain? Patrick Mahomes. You know, the only person that's ever eliminated Patrick Mahomes from the playoffs is a guy that he's playing on Super Bowl Sunday. So I would love to see Tom Brady one more time, just stick it to Patrick Mahomes and keep Patrick Mahomes out of the conversation, at least for right now, of better than Seattle by winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
Are you guys almost done? Are you guys almost done? Holy cow. Let it go. Wait. After's got one more. I got a squabble ready for you here.
Go ahead, Brian.
After hit it.
So squabble brings up some great points. What a great storyline. But I disagree and feel differently from this standpoint. First of all, and this probably only is relatable to old school guys like Coach and myself who have been around and seen the franchise from its onset. Back when the Seahawks came into the NFL, so did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the only comparison that the Seahawks had was how much better are we than the other expansion franchise? And there was something called the Expansion Bowl. And it was kind of built and something that was ingrained in me is we've got to be a better franchise than the other expansion franchise that joined the NFL at the same time. So I have always, and a lot of people that I know that grew up in the 70s when the Seahawks came, is having this kind of hidden agenda of we're in competition with the Buccaneers. I don't want to see that franchise do better than my franchise. And when they got their first Super Bowl win, that killed me because now they had a Super Bowl and the Seahawks didn't. So that's why I don't want to see them go to another Super Bowl. Plus, I would love to see the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl and face the Kansas City Chiefs, who I believe will get there for a third time if they win this one, and then be the team to knock them off and stop that from being a dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you, Brian. Coach Marsh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So sit back and relax and enjoy this one. All right. Because first off, you guys sit here and talk about Aaron Rodgers and how cocky he is and blah, 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 blah. Are you guys aware of what wide receiver just claimed to be the number 2 wide receiver in the NFL just yesterday? When they asked him to rank your top 5 wide receivers, and he's a wide receiver, and then he ranked himself number 2 in the NFL. Our guy, DK Metcalf. Now I love it, man. I love that he got out, says that he's confident and he's, he feels like he's one of the best, but he ranked himself number 2. So I like that air of cockiness. So if we're going to handle that, then we better be able to handle someone else that does it. Now, you guys are the biggest homers, and I've lived here all my life, and I'm a consummate Seahawks fan. But man, oh man, I mean, you guys, the reasons you guys are rooting for stuff, I wanted to see Green Bay and Kansas City because I want to see a great Super Bowl, a high action, fast-paced, West Coast offenses, all those type of things taking place. You guys want to be let's have this happen and these happen. No, it's because Green Bay handled this pretty well. If we had Aaron Rodgers, or if Aaron Rodgers had a chance to come here, man, we'd be debating whether or not we should have him or keep Russ, right? Now, we'd keep Russ because of the longevity, but then we'd all be homers because we wouldn't look at it from a standpoint of who's the better quarterback. But let me tell you, I want to hit on Abker's piece. This is the only first time I got to kind of come at you and push back a little, Abker, on the playing for everything. And I hear the same thing, and it drives me nuts when players are, I'm willing to give my life in this game. And I'm going to, okay, you're not willing to give your life for the game, but it's a great metaphor to getting guys excited. So when Aaron Rodgers says that, let me give you some numbers here that I looked up. The last 2 years, Aaron Rodgers is 8,301 yards passing to 149 yards rushing. I'm sorry, 8,300 is 2 seasons. His 149 yards rushing this season was the least he's had in 13 years. So when it's on the line, when he's saying, I'm going to give it everything I have, to me, I want my guy giving everything he has with his right arm throwing the football. Not running it as gimpy as he is because he can't hardly run the ball. So I think when he's saying that, he's saying, I'm going to give you everything I have, which is why I'm going to be 33 for 48. And I'm going to only throw 1 interception. I'm going to throw 3 touchdowns. I'm going to get us down to a position where on 1st and goal, I'm going to assume we have 4 plays and we're going to make it happen because I'm a hero. And on 4th down, I'll make it happen. And then that gets ripped away from him. So, I think we're in a position here where, you guys get excited about stuff. Squabble, you're excited about Tampa Bay because it was like me watching Mark McGwire hit the 61st home run. I wanted to be everywhere he was and see everything that was happening. You have yet to live life long enough to experience like that one moment in life where you're like, man, this sports moment, I got to see it. For you, it's Tom Brady becoming like the greatest of all sports of all time, of all those things. Guys like Abker and I, we were watching Jesse Owens in 1932 win the gold medal, right? So we've had multiple moments throughout our life. You're just getting going, right? Now, here's the thing. As we finish going through here, when I'm looking at these guys that are making these type of plays, I wanted to see Rodgers make it happen. I wanted to see Green Bay get there because I love how they play. I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm not a big, Tom Brady fan. I think that you give him a lot of credit, but I'm going to flip the script here in terms of who was the guy to blame and why all this happened. Now, today, the Green Bay Packers fired a coach. And when I heard they fired a coach, I was certain who that coach was going to be. It was the special teams coach. And I thought, why are you firing the special teams coach if you're going to fire anybody? Because there was a play at the end of the half, and yes, Aaron Rodgers threw an interception. But how in the world do you let a guy get that deep, wide open, with seconds to play, with the GOAT over there on the other side, and now that game is over because at halftime your team's sitting in there. Aaron Rodgers had to lift his team, and he did carry him on his back. He did get him going. He was on the sideline getting in guys' face, saying, hey, make a stop. Hey, do this, do that, and I'll get us down the field. He wasn't given a chance. If Rodgers completes a touchdown in those final 3 plays, any of those final 3 plays, what are we talking about this week with regards to Tom Brady? How much he choked, those 3 interceptions, how this, this and that and the other thing. So it's easy to go to the end and blame the one thing and blame Aaron Rodgers because we hate him in Seattle because he's beat us and done all these other things. Well, we got the best of him in 2015. I love his cockiness and his swagger. I wish our quarterback would be a little bit more like that and more genuine in terms of his actions. And I'm not ripping on Russ, so don't put things out there that I don't like. I love Russell Wilson, but I love Rodgers' attitude. I love Brady's attitude. I like Mahomes' attitude. But man, Rodgers and Green Bay, it's a bummer what happened. But you guys and your ultimate homerism and all those funny things, it's good stuff. But I think, when you're put on the line, Guy threw for 8,000 yards and 74 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. If I'm leaving on the line with my guy, I want him throwing the football.
Steezy.
Okay. Can I respond to that real quick?
All right, Brian, and then Steezy, you got
quick.
Something, and then we'll probably jump to trivia because I know that Squabble's got somewhere to go, and we don't want this to go all night. So, Brian, all right.
For sure. And listen, I respect Coach's opinion as much as anybody that I've dealt with in sports. But for me, and I like Rodgers' attitude too. Sometimes he comes off as a little blasé, like, I don't give a crap. But we know that that's not the case. And I don't mind his swag or anything. But when you say, and I know you have a different interpretation of this, but when you say I'm going to lay it all on the line for you, that doesn't mean I'm going to lay it sort of kind of on the line if it's okay and I'm not going to get hurt. I'm going to lay it all on the line means I'm going to make that diving attempt to get in the end zone and take a hit when a touchdown is 2 yards in front of me. That's what that means to me.
They would throw a penalty for delay a game if he tried to run into the end zone. He's run so slow. They would literally throw a flag and say, it took you too long to get there. The guy can barely run. He's thinking throw first. And so I think, we're going to agree to disagree on this one in a fun way because, man, oh, man, there's no way I kick the field goal there. We're going for it. And I'm putting it in Rodgers' hand and I'm saying, drop back and drill it. Just drill it. Make it happen. So, I don't think he even comes close. He gets 3 or 4 yards maybe. And that changes the complexion of whether they go for it on 4th down, I think. But leaving on the line, to me, he would have slid. I don't think he would have put his head out there. He would have put himself in position to throw again on 4th down. But he just, again, he's like a sundial when it comes to running, and 149 yards compared to 4,000 yards proves it.
Fair enough.
I get your argument, leaving it on the line. In 99% of the cases, if it was Russ, yes. Mahomes, yes. Even Brady. Not with Rodgers. Him leaving it on the line is throwing it.
All right, Steezy, you get the last word here about this. Go for it, man.
Coach, just real fast. I mean, you were talking about how, Green Bay's coach didn't give him any chances. They had chances. They had those 2 interceptions that I told you about. You know what? They resulted in 3 and out. And so Aaron Rodgers definitely had those chances. I think what it comes down to is it's Aaron Rodgers' fault in the fact that he basically put the end result of the game in the hands of his coach. And he had all those opportunities, all those chances. They resulted in 3 and outs, and it resulted in a forced ball to Devontae Adams. And not to downplay what coaching does, because I know coaching is very, very, very important in all sports, not just football. But at the end of the day, he's the one on the field. He's the one making all those throws. He's the one making the decisions on the field. And in the end, he came up short. And so that's where I'm coming from when I say I'm blaming Aaron Rodgers. Because for me, yes, I do have a little bit of animosity. Yes, I do look at Aaron Rodgers in a way where I'm like, you know what? I don't really like the guy, so I'm not going to root for him. But that's not the reason why I was rooting against him. I have other reasons, but that's a different topic for another day. But I just wanted to point out that he had multiple chances, too many, in fact.
And as did, and I appreciate the point, Steve, but as did the interception that didn't happen, the play before basically Brady throws the deep ball, right? Was any of Rodgers' plays any more important or any more relevant than when a player dropped a sure-handed interception? And like I said last night, like we in Seattle don't know what it's like to have players that drop sure-handed interceptions. And I'm saying that tongue in cheek. But, they miss one, and the next play, boom, there it goes over the top. So again, that's why I'm looking at defensive coordinator. Rodgers' face is out there, but if you took away what we see from him on the outside and his public persona and him on the shows that he's on and stuff, I think again his numbers it wasn't like Russ's numbers in our final game, where it was basically 11 for whatever and like just didn't show up. The game, they were running the game plan. They made it work those final few plays. And I agree, the 3 and outs were a bummer. They didn't score on things, but that can be, kind of like time of possession. Sometimes I think those are overrated too. Like, the bottom line is you're scoring. So whether you get a 99-yard drive on 15 plays from whatever, you stopped them on goal situation, or you get 3 turnovers and you score touchdowns there, it's a matter of when you do it. So good points by you guys, but unfortunately, I just don't know that you're correct. That's a little Aaron Rodgers coming at you.
Yeah, we are, but that's cool.
All right, so
Martin, after the police, I think, are coming behind you again.
All right, I said Steve was have the last word, but Martin, I'm going to give you a pass here, so you get to have one more final comment on this. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry if I'm extending the time a little, but adding on to Steezy, yeah, Brady threw 3 picks. Yeah, that you might call that not clutch, but it would not be clutch if Rodgers could have led his team to get at least 2 touchdowns off those 3 interceptions. But you saw the stats. 0 touchdowns off those 3 interceptions. If he got those if he got like 1 or 2 touchdowns, that would have been clutch for Rodgers. But he didn't lead his team to do anything. They got nowhere. So I believe that doesn't make Rodgers the best QB. He got the stats. He didn't get the clutch.
So here's what defends that, and I'll end it right here. And I said this last night. Aaron Rodgers was the greatest quarterback on the field yesterday in terms of as they are right now. But Tom Brady played the greatest when he needed to be. Aaron Rodgers was the greatest quarterback on the field, but Tom Brady played the greatest when he needed to be. That's why Tom Brady's not the greatest, mechanical QB of all time, but he plays great when he needs to. That's why he's the winner that he is.
And one last note, the interesting thing about this game, and this is in particular for Seahawks fans to pay attention to, you saw the GOAT, many consider Brady the greatest of all time, have a terrible game throughout most of the game, except for when, like you said, when he needed to. You saw Aaron Rodgers have a pretty good game, but not be able to take advantage of some opportunities, and you saw some mistakes made, I believe, and a lot of people do, by the head coach. It happens. It happens in the NFL. It happens to the greatest players and the greatest teams. So those of you that were looking at the Seahawks losing to the Rams, and you were pissed that Russell Wilson didn't play great, and you were pissed that the play calling wasn't good and the adjustments are there, it's all true, but it's absolutely no reason to jettison a head coach or a quarterback despite making $35 million a year, because those gems don't come along that often. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen to your team. It happens to other teams. You're going to take a team that was 12-4 and went to the playoffs and has been to the playoffs every year, but won under Pete, and think that you can just replace that at the snap of a finger with a new head coach and a new quarterback. You're out of your mind.
And that's why I hate when guys get fired, like the special teams coach at Green Bay, because someone's head has to roll. Come on, they made it to the NFC Championship game. They have a great overall team. That stuff is ridiculous. It's lame. It's weak.
But the Packers just can't finish in the end. So.
Yeah, 1-4 in NFC Championship games. Yeah, you think we've got it bad? Woo, Packers.
Well, what's funny is we're about to go to trivia. And I swear there was another game that was played that day. Wasn't there another game on? Was there another game on?
There was.
I swear there was another championship game that took place.
Unfortunately, there's not as much to talk about in the game, and we will talk a little bit more when we do next week. We'll get more into the matchup for the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it just wasn't much to debate with that second game. But
real quick, a plug. CWE says Russell Wilson couldn't play great because of the offensive line. That is actually going to be a topic of next week's Coaches Corner, to do a shameless plug there, that we are going to look at offensive line play and Russell Wilson. Was it a problem or wasn't it the problem this year?
Yeah, I can't wait to go into it. It's easy to look at the numbers and go, oh, that many sacks. New line. Let's get a new one in there. But they don't grow on trees, and they're not necessarily solely the issue. So, yeah, it'll be fun to break that down. All right, a couple of super chats before we launch the trivia here. KillerCam0714. No. Oh, you got to go. That's right. Squabble's got to go.
I just want to say goodbye. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, Noah.
Okay,
Squabble,
all right.
Great seeing you, man.
Squabble, take care. Glad you could be here, man. All right, and I'm up against the clock too, so we're going to make this happen quick. KillerCam0714 says, are you going to address Chad Wheeler in another video? We actually talked about it earlier, so you can actually check out the earlier part of this show, and we talked about it. And then Drive Swizz says, have you talked about Ken Norton Jr.? Because I'm curious on if people want him to stay. He hasn't been fired yet, but we could talk about whether we feel like he needs to be. We'll have that in a. We got plenty of offseason to talk about that. So for now, we're going to switch gears to have a little fun with trivia. Thanks to Tman, who came up with the trivia this week. So get your Kahoot apps. Oh, well, it's not too bad. Actually, it's not bad. It's not bad. There's some easy ones and there's some hard ones. So it's a good mix. All right, so everybody get your trivia. Let's see. Let me get your guys' picture adjusted here a little bit. Get your Kahoot app. Your Kahoot.com, and let's go. Get ready. The pin number is coming up here. The best part of the names are popping in. The number is 551-640. 551-640. Load them up. 551-640. We've got NORBFAM Nation, Go Hawks, Sky High Aviation, Unblock Ori, BJ, Abker for 710, Resign Dwayne, Matt T, Mohammed Zaid, Russell Wilson, Swizz, Norm's Balls. There you go. I figured they start showing up. Jojo D. I like pizza and fries. Tacky Sea Chalks. Dominic. Vanessa's Boy. Bears 2021. Let Russ cook. Kim. What is Ori? Russ for MVP. Cameron Hughes. Mehul. Barzwaj. Aidan Pham. Raider Nation. Marsh Sun. Run the Distance. Majestic Finch 79. Miguel, Samster, Mystery Dragon 42, Arctic Bison, Unblocked Ori No, Tom Brady, Goat, Z Dush, I know how to say Dusha Sheev. All right, let's get 15 more seconds.
I'm trying to pronounce those.
I know. I might read something.
Yeah, you, me, and Apker are going to miss something.
Yeah, I know. One of these days we're going to say something bad. Martin Drippy Cut. Norb for RB. Tom is NFL's dad. Intercepted MB. Wiseman ROTY. Wiseman Rookie of the Year. Nick LeBeau. All right, 10 more seconds. Seahawks. It looks like chalks. All right, Martin and V. 5 more seconds. Fabulous Bunny 91. Red Lizard 91. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. NorbCam Man. All right, that is it. Let's go. Let's start this trivia courtesy of Tman. No, wait. Marsh me. Here we go.
Funny.
Nice one. All right, here we go. Tman, who submitted this trivia. Thank you, Tman. Question number 1. How many QB pressures does Carlos Dunlap have as a Seattle Seahawk? 22, 10, 17, or 15? How many QB pressures does Carlos Dunlap have as a Seattle Seahawk? 22, 10, 17, or 15? Two seconds. Time is up. Ooh, tied up for 14 is the correct answer. So if you have 14, 14 if you got the correct answer, the answer is 15. Let's go to the panel, starting with Steezy.
Man, I had 17 in mind. It just looked the most logical to me, so I was off by just a couple.
All right, let me clear Squabo out of here. All right, and Brian, how about you? What do you got?
Oh, I said 22. I figured, why even ask the question unless it's not some astronomical crazy number like that?
I guess it was not the astronomical. Threw you off here. All right, let's go with Coach Marsh. Bill.
Yeah. I mean, this is like how many girlfriends did Norb have in 3rd grade? So I mean, I just took a stab at it. So I went with the number that I thought he had in 3rd grade that would be equivalent. So I also thought 22.
You would have been better with 0 on that one. Let's go to Martin. I'm sure Martin has way more girlfriends than I did at his age. Martin, what do you have for the number?
Nah.
Not that guy. Girls are gross.
I'd rather go stag. I'm just kidding.
That guy.
Play the field.
Here comes the start. I came down with 17, 15, 22 just seemed too much. 10 was way too little. 17, 14, 17 and 15. Then my the corner of my brain's like, hey, I'll screw Martin again from getting it right. And so I went with 17.
Oh, so 0. Okay, so no correct answers on that one. Let's see how.
That's why girls don't get me.
All right, don't worry, they'll come. Once they see you play the piano, they'll come flocking. All right, here we go. We've got Bears 2021 in first, Go Hawks in second, re-signed Dwayne in third, Raiden City in fourth, and Cameron Hughes in fifth. Next question. Who was the first quarterback to play as a Seattle Seahawk? Jim Zorn, Dave Craig, Russell Wilson, or Rick Meyer? Who was the first QB to play as a Seattle Seahawk? Jim Zorn, Dave Craig, Russell Wilson, or Rick Meyer?
This is what they call a layup for the AARP.
For the AARP, this is an easy one. Time.
Should be a layup for anybody that's a Seahawks fan.
Yeah,
really.
It's a layup for most of the people on YouTube. Yes, Jim Zorn. With the 21 of you got the correct answer on YouTube. Let's go to the panel. Steezy.
Come on, man. I make my layups. I said Jim Zorn.
There you go.
I don't even ask. Brian, I know you know this. Coach Marsh, I know you know this. Martin, I know you got to know this.
No, I got it. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I got it.
All right, so sweep across.
I make 75% of my layups. This is one of those 75.
All right,
I got to work on my basketball skills.
All right, let's
Even
go
though he was
to
the worst ever, let's try to get it Rick Meyer and not Rick Myrer. I've heard that so many times over the course of
I know. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Does he deserve to have his name pronounced correctly?
I know.
Probably not.
Meyer is very appropriate though. Go
Dave
Hawks.
Drake played for the Kansas City Chiefs. Most
That's
people
right.
know.
Yep. Go Hawks in first place. Samster in second. Intercepted MB in third. Seahawks or Chalks in fourth. And Go Seahawks in fifth. Next question. Number 3. Who did Doug Baldwin score his first NFL touchdown against? The Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers, St. Louis Rams, or the Arizona Cardinals? Who did Doug Baldwin score his first NFL touchdown against? Vikings, Niners, Rams, or Cardinals? 3 seconds. The time is up. Oh, YouTube on point. 13 of you got that correct. Yes, it was the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go to the panel. Steezy.
I went with another division rival. I said the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, that would have been a good guess. Sorry, Steez. Brian.
Yep, I got it right. And that question maybe harken back to the time against the Cardinals where he didn't make a catch in the end zone and he got his tooth knocked in half. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Coach Marsh, how sharp is your memory of this period?
Yeah, the specialty guy. I was a huge Baldwin fan. Love that guy. So, yeah, 49ers, that was a pretty easy one.
All right, Martin.
I went with the Rams because I thought it was the blocks punt he had. I went down to the Rams 49, and then the corner of my brain came and struck again and said, hey, I'll screw Martin again, and he screwed me again. So,
well, good guess, though. All right, let's go to the scoreboard here. Changes all over the place. Seahawks or Chalks in first, JoJo D in second, Sky High Aviation in third, Cameron Hughes in fourth, and Go Hawks in fifth. Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 is the highest climber with 17 spaces gained. All right, next question. How many points combined did the Seahawks score this 2020 season, including the playoffs? 478, 480, 479, or 482? How many combined points did the Seahawks score this season, including playoffs? 478, 480, 479, or 482?
Can we find a friend on this one?
Is up.
This one's tough.
Oh, all right. Well, YouTube is flying high with majority of you getting this correct. 479. 13 of you got that's correct. Let's go to the panel in Steezy.
I was one off. I just went with the low just because of how our offense struggled down the stretch, so I went with 478.
All right. Sorry, Steez. Brian.
I went the opposite way. I went with the high at 480.
These are very close, so it's not like it was a big difference. Coach Marsh.
Yeah, I kind of thought it would be the highest one, so I went 482.
It was kind of harsh. I mean, these numbers are so close together.
That's how bad I was. I thought I was picking the highest one, and I didn't even pick the highest one. I had no shot.
Martin, how about you? Did you manage to get a point on this by luck?
I thought 480.
All right, tough
now,
question
that would
right
have been
there.
a great over-under question, like the true and false questions. Like,
yes,
higher
that could
or
have been
lower than 479.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, this is a tough one.
But come join my channel when we play fun games like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. All right, here we go. Next question, or actually the scoreboard. Seahawks, Chalks on top. Go Hawks in second. Sky High Aviation in third. JoJo D to fourth. And Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 gets onto the panel top 5 at 5. And Tom is NFL's dad, is the highest climber, up 13 spots. Next question. Number 5. What year did we change our stadium name to CenturyLink Field? 2008, 2010, 2011, or 2009? What year did we change our stadium name to CenturyLink Field? 2008, 2010, 2011, or 2009? Time is up. Oh, yes. 2011 was the correct answer there. 11 of you guys got that correct. 11 got 11. But let's see what the panel had to say about that. Steezy.
Man, this one's real tough. I kind of just guessed, but I got down to 2008, 2009, and in the end, I ended up rolling with 2008. So either way, I was wrong.
Okay. Brian Abker.
Yeah, I got it right. I remember giving an update the day that the announcement was made on the radio, and I like to think that I came up with the idea of calling it the Clink, although I probably didn't, but I definitely mentioned it early.
I know that the Seahawks organization did not like it when people called it the Clink. In fact,
No,
I had to change it. I had to change it in my. I think I had to change one of my song lyrics because I said Clink, and they didn't. They said we'll push that video up for you, but can you change that Clink to CenturyLink? Anyway, so yeah, not every nickname is beloved. So Coach Marsh, what you got?
Yeah, so I got it right, and it was only based on thinking about when was Marshawn Lynch's Beastquake run and what they were referring to when they were basing it on that game. Good
one. Yeah, 2010 was the Beastquake run, and then 11, the year after they changed it. Martin.
Same with Coach Marsh. I was like, when was the Beastquake run? I remember they called it Quest Field at the time, so I went the year after, 2011.
All right. Okay, we've got a tight race here.
Martin.
All right, so we got Brian and Coach Marsh with 3 points apiece, Martin with 2, and Steezy with 1. Let's go to the YouTube side and see how the fates are changing. Seahawks, Chalks is top right now still with Sky High Aviation moving up to 2nd. Wiseman, Rookie of the Year 2021 up to 3rd. Cameron Hughes up to 4th. And Go Hawks hanging in there in 5th. Cool is up 11 places. Next question. True or false? The Seahawks started off in the NFL in the AFC. True or false? The Seahawks started off in the NFL in the AFC. True or false? The Seahawks started off in the AFC. True or false? Time is up. Wow, evenly split in YouTube. Just a fraction. 19 of you guys guessed the correct answer, which is false. That's correct. They were in the NFC that first season. Steezy.
Oh, man. I made that realization just before, false came about. But I said NFC.
Oh man!
No, I said true. I said true. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Sorry, man. And I know we've covered this in some shape or form before. Yeah. It's a tricky one, but it's a common asked question. Brian Abker, I don't even know if I need to even ask you, but I'll ask you.
Yeah, no, I absolutely got it. And I remember that Gene Washington was the quarterback for the 49ers and used to crush us in preseason that year. One game in preseason, one game in regular season.
I had a poster of Gene Washington in a Washington Redskins uniform way back in the day. I didn't even know
the Redskins and then the Niners late in his career, yeah.
I didn't even know who he was or what that meant. I thought Washington was some kind of Washington State football team at the time. Coach Marsh.
Yeah, I remember Abker calling me up and asking if I could bring aluminum foil over to put on the rabbit antenna ears to watch the game when they opened up as in the NFC. So yeah, newly stamped AARP card.
Yes, that comes in handy. Comes in handy here. Martin, you're nowhere close to the AARP card, but is the encyclopedia on point today?
Finally starting to get things rolling.
Okay.
I went false. It was easy. They stayed in the NFC for 1 year, then moved to AFC until 2002. Until 2002, then they moved back to NFC.
That's right. All right.
Do we have to call shenanigans on Martin, though? We saw your brother or somebody in the background whisper in your ear. What was that all about, Martin?
My brother isn't as smart in football as I am. So.
Okay. I'll believe
in
that.
fact, he relishes anytime you mess up. He puts a nice little thumbs down every time you miss a point. So I want to see more of that. There it is.
Some brotherly love.
All right, we'll see more of that. Here we go. Let's go to the scoreboard. Oh, Chalk Seahawks is still on top. Wiseman, Rookie of the Year, keeps climbing now up to 2nd place. Cameron Hughes up to 3rd. Unblock Ori goes to 4th. And Sky High Aviation in 5th. NORBFAM Nation is the up 14 places highest climber. Next question, number 7. Who did the Seahawks pick in the first round in 2015? Bruce Irvin, Earl Thomas, James Carpenter, none of the above. Who did the Seahawks pick in the first round in 2015? Bruce Irvin, Earl Thomas, James Carpenter, or none of the above? Time is up. Wow. YouTube's on it. 23 of you guys got this correct. None of the above. Let's go to the panel here. Steezy.
Irvin was in 2012, Earl was in 2010, and Carpenter was in 2011. So I don't even think we had a first round pick in 2015. So none of the above.
All right, good answer there. Brian Abker.
No doubt about it, none of the above.
Coach Bill.
Yep. Easy.
Martin.
Yep. Easy.
All right,
Thumbs up
a
right there.
sweep across. I told you some of these would be easy, some of these would be hard. All right,
That's the best graphic effect I've seen.
Yeah, love it.
All right, let's go to the next scoreboard update. Seahawks is just running away right now, but Cameron Hughes up to second, right behind him. Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 in third. Unblocked Ori still in fourth, and Sky High Aviation in fifth. 4 players have a 3-answer streak going. Let's go to number 8.
Were you on 2 weeks ago when this thing was like to the battle with the final 3 people?
I think I missed it.
Who did the Seahawks trade up with to draft DK Metcalf? The Patriots, the Chiefs, Rams, or the Eagles? Who did the Seahawks trade up with to draft DK Metcalf? Patriots, Chiefs, Rams, or Eagles?
They traded way up.
Up with. Time is up. All right. Again, another relatively easy question there. The Patriots. I know we've had this on here before as well. 21 of you got that correct. Steezy.
I said the Patriots because when we talk about the teams that passed up on DK, they're always one of the ones that are most scrutinized.
Brian Abker.
Of course. How can you not relish in getting a player that the Patriots could have had? So, yeah, for sure that sticks out.
Coach Marsh.
Yeah.
Easy.
Martin.
I remember Cam Chancellor with the 64th pick in the 2019 NFL draft. The Seahawks select DK Metcalf. Yeah.
Well played. All right, let's go to the scoreboard. Very well done. Cameron Hughes knocks Seahawks off the top, and Cameron Hughes in first place now. Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 slides up to second. Unblocked Ori to third. So I already said Seahawks drops to fourth, and re-signed Dwayne gets to the top 5 at number 5. And we have 4 players with a hot streak of 4 going. Let's go. Next question. It's heating up in here. Number 9. Oh, we're in double points on this one? Okay. What round was Marquise Blair drafted in? 3rd round, 1st round, 2nd round, or 5th round? Marquise Blair, what round was he drafted in? 3rd round, 1st round, 2nd round, or 5th round? Marquise Blair, what round was he drafted in? Time is up. Ooh, not so easy this question here. 11 of you got the correct answer on YouTube. 2nd round pick, Marquise Blair. Let's go to the scoreboard here. I guess, the round, we have double points. I don't normally give them double points on the number 9, but we're going to do it here since it's the way for YouTube, so we'll do the same thing here. We'll make this double point question. Steezy, for 2.
Said the 2nd round because I remember when we drafted him, the fact that he was a safety being drafted in the 2nd round, I was like, we don't need a safety. And so that was really what caught me off guard. So,
Steezy, I know you're always sharp as a tack when it comes to the draft, so this plays your advantage. Brian.
Yeah, I knew this one, and I still got it wrong. I said 3rd, and I knew it was 2nd because I even made a comment that I thought that they were getting him to maybe also play corner, and that's why they went for him earlier, and I don't know why I picked 3rd here.
So Steezy closes the gap. Only 1 point separating Brian. Coach Marsh could take first place here by himself. What you got, Coach Marsh?
I could, but kind of like Abker, I don't know why I was thinking 3rd round. I think because the Seahawks usually do their best work in the 3rd through 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Wow, so young Martin, who started off a little slow here, he has a chance to take the lead. Does he?
Let's go! I finally got something rolling. I went 2nd round.
Come on.
Finally in the league. It's been a while.
There we
All
go.
right, with a 2-point question. With a 2-point question, he takes the lead in a tight race. Martin with 7, Coach Marsh and Brian with 6, and Steezy with 5. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard here. It's getting tight. I love it. Not many changes except at the bottom. Cameron Hughes still in first. Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 in second. Unblocked Ori still in third. Re-signed Dwayne in fourth. And Sky High Aviation back up to fifth. It's like they just keep shifting around. Those horses just keep neck and neck, changing spots as we get down the stretch. Here we go. Next question. Number 10. Worth double. Who was the Seahawks defensive line coach? Dave Canales, Clint Hurt, Ken Dorsey, or Pete Carroll? Who is the Seahawks defensive lines coach? Dave Canales, Clint Hurt, Ken Dorsey, or Pete Carroll? Seahawks defensive lines coach. Dave Canales, Clint Hurt, Ken Dorsey, or Pete Carroll? Clint Hurt. I had no idea, to be honest with you, when I heard this one. But 16 of you guys on YouTube, pretty well. I didn't know.
Wow.
Clint Hurt is the right answer. So let's go. Steezy for 2.
I say Clint Hurt. When the question was first asked, I was like, I have no idea. But then based off the options, I mean, they kind of gave it away. Ken Dorsey, he's a passing game coordinator for the Bills. Dave Canales, passing game coordinator for the Hawks. And obviously Pete Carroll, just the head coach. And so I just looked at the name that was most familiar with people.
Brian Abker.
Yeah, I got it right. But what I like about this question is Seahawks Martin getting in your grill, Norb, for not knowing.
Yeah, totally.
I know. I feel like an idiot. I would do very poorly if I was playing this, to be honest with you. Coach Bill, Coach Marsh.
Yeah, well, obviously not Carroll and Ken Dorsey, quarterback at Miami. Long ago. Dave Canales, the one guy that I was just hoping that we did not hire at all because I've seen him out there coaching. No offense to him, but not a guy. So I know exactly what he coaches. And so Clint Hurt.
All right. So Martin, judging by the way you just roasted me on that, I assumed that you knew the answer to this one.
Yeah, no brainer. I don't want to sound rude. I don't want to sound bratty, but that was a no-brainer for me.
There you go, Martin. Let him know.
I DM'd him after a win. I was like, nice job. He came in. He's like, he replied back. He's like, yeah, thanks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got it.
Oh, really?
I got it.
Hey, I got a new name for you. I think you should call yourself Seahawks Rogers because you're starting to sound like Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, man. Getting that little Rodgers attitude.
That's funny.
All right, let's go. Next question. We're getting down the stretch here. Check the YouTube scoreboard. Cameron Hughes still on top. Unblock Ori goes to second. Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021 on fire with 9 straight answers. Sky High Aviation in 4th. And I Like Pizza French Fries gets into the top 5 at number 5.
Oh, that's my wife then.
Here we go. Next question, number 11. Double points, of course. Who founded the Seahawks? Jack Patera, Lloyd Nordstrom, John Schneider, or Herman Sarkowski? Who founded the Seahawks? Jack Patera, Lloyd Nordstrom, John Schneider, Herman Sarkowski. 3 seconds. Like that, 2 seconds. Correct answer is Herman Sarkowski. Only 9 of you guys got that one correct. This one was a little bit of an unexpected question to me as well, but let's see how well the ARP crew does here in a second, since we're talking about the old days, prehistoric days. Let's go to Steezy for double.
I was thinking Sarkowski initially, but I don't know. The name Nordstrom just kept it had a lot of appeal, so I ended up switching over to Lloyd Nordstrom and got him off.
Oh,
that's where you got that shirt from.
Yeah, the Nordstrom photo shoot. Brian Abker.
Yeah, I got that one right. Lloyd Nordstrom was a part owner with John in their 76 inaugural season.
All right. Well played, Coach Marsh.
Yeah, Nordstrom's one of the better families and owners, partial owners and stuff. But yeah, Herman, if you know his historian of this.
The AARP brothers break double digits with that answer
from the prehistoric days.
Let's go. We've got a big thumbs down here at Seahawks Martin screen. Is that why?
Yeah, I feel like Kofi Kingston on his WWE Championship run, and then going straight down the gut with the old guys taking me down.
Oh man!
I went with Lloyd Nordstrom because I read it in the book. I thought it was him, Nordstrom, which is also the place where my mom loves to shop.
Right. Well, little trick question because the Nordstroms were involved, but it was not the sole one. And the fouls.
Is this the last question coming up?
Yep. Last question.
Okay, because Abker said he was going to leave it all on the line today. On this one.
Well, look at this. Wiseman Rookie of the Year.
On the field.
Because I got it.
He's going to lay out for this.
That's not what Aaron Rodgers doesn't have, and that's good.
So let's see. He's going to lay out for this one.
All right, Wiseman Rookie of the Year in first place. Suddenly, Cameron Hughes in second. Unblock Ori in third. I Like Pizza French Fries in fourth. And Go Pack Go in fifth. 10 answers in a row got him to first place, Wiseman Rookie of the Year. So we're to the final question right here. Number 12, worth double points. How many touchdowns did Shawn Alexander score in his first NFL game? 3, 4, 5, or 1? How many touchdowns did Shawn Alexander score in his first NFL game? 3, 4, 5, or 1? Time is up. Only 4 of you on YouTube got that one correct. It was just one single touchdown. All right. To the panel we go. Let's see. I got to do this correctly. I got to save the best for last here to set the excitement. So to do this right, I guess we'll start with Steezy, since it's a non-consequential answer here. But Steezy, judging by your groan, I assume you did not get the correct answer here. Tell me if I'm wrong or right.
I didn't. I was kind of thinking that he had such a great performance that's what enabled him to keep the job for the rest of the season. So I was kind of stuck between 3, 4, and 5, and I ended up going with 4.
All right, so sorry to hear that, man. So I think you're going to have to finish on the low man of the totem pole this time, but we're going to go to Martin now with a chance to take the temporary lead. Martin, what say you?
Thumbs down just showed it. I was thinking 1, and then my brother here is like, it should be 4. And so I'm like, okay, I'll trust you this time. And I went with 4, and I just screwed myself over. Thanks. Why'd you listen to me, Vince?
Well, that's your fault.
I don't know why I listened to you.
You just told us that he knows less about football than you do, so why would you trust in a guy who knows less than you?
I wanted to be nice.
All right. Well, I guess it doesn't matter here. We got a tie, so we're going to start with the AARP brother number 1, Brian.
Well, what a lot of people forget is that when Shawn Alexander was drafted by the Seahawks, he actually was the backup running back to Ricky Waters. Who had 1,200 yards when he was like 32 years old. So I knew it was 1. 5, certainly not it. That was like first half of the Raiders game, right? And 1 was just a clear, obvious answer for me, only because that was, I think, 99, 2000 when I first started covering the Seahawks.
Okay, so 12 points for Brian. Coach Marsh with an opportunity to tie it up here. Coach Marsh.
Yeah, so I was actually at the game in Husky Stadium when Shawn Alexander scored 4 touchdowns. And people always talk about that as being his breakout game and everything else. But his first touchdown came when Ricky Waters got hurt. And he went out there and scored 1 touchdown. So number 1.
So we've got a tie between Coach Marsh and Brian Abker.
I'm going to give it to Abker. He's wearing his AARP jacket. I forgot that this is, that this was, third Wednesday or fourth Wednesday of the month, and I was supposed to break out my AARP stuff too. So,
well, if we're gonna tie, what better number to tie on than 12?
Yeah,
right?
so we'll just call it good. We'll call it a good at 12. Yes. All right, I love it. All right, well, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard and find out who's on the podium. In third place, with 8 out of 12 questions, is Cameron Hughes. In second place with 10 out of 12 questions is Wiseman Rookie of the Year 2021. And with 9 out of 12, in first place with 10,102 points is Unblock Ori at number 1. Somehow gets it. I Like Pizza and Fries is 4th, and Go Pack Go in 5th is the runner-up. So if whoever is that person,
I think we all know who that is.
I think we know it is. All right. Unblock Ori is in first place. Take your screenshot and send that over to me. But yeah, congratulations, Unblock Ori. Let's get back to the panel here. And I've got to run because I am seriously late. So I've got to get going. So I'm going to cut this off real quick. Thank you guys for being on here, the panel. Brian Abker, Coach Marsh, Steezy, and Seahawks Martin and his brother with the thumbs up, thumbs down over there. And of course, everybody else who was watching and playing the game and doing the super chats. I appreciate you guys' support. Please click on anywhere here. We got a couple of images that'll take you to another roundtable or to another video that you ought to watch. So the video really isn't over. You just slide over and check out one of these other ones. Until next time, we'll see you at the next video. Take care and go Hawks.